3 years ago, you had $5,000 in the bank. You felt broke, but you also felt normal. Everyone around you was broke too. Today, you have $30,000 saved. You've tripled your income. You drive a better car. You live in a nicer place. You should feel rich, or at least comfortable. Instead, you feel poorer than you did at $5,000. Not actually poorer, but worse, more anxious, more behind, more like you're failing at life. You open Instagram, your college friend just bought a house. Another friend is on their third vacation this year. Your cousin just got promoted to VP. You look at your $30,000. It feels like nothing. At $5,000, that number would have felt impossible, life-changing. At $30,000, it feels inadequate, embarrassing even. Here's what nobody tells you about building wealth. The more money you have, the poorer you can feel. Not because you're doing worse, because your entire reference point shifts. At $5,000, you compared yourself to broke people. At $30,000, you compare yourself to rich people. And suddenly, $30,000 feels like poverty. I call this the Comparative Wealth Trap. It's the psychological phenomenon where crossing into mid-tier wealth doesn't make you feel successful. It makes you feel inadequate because you're no longer comparing down. You're comparing up. And comparison up is brutal. This trap destroys more millionaires before they become millionaires than any other psychological barrier. You're not struggling because you don't have money. You're struggling because you suddenly see how much money other people have. And that perception shift will sabotage your wealth faster than any spending habit ever could. But once you understand the psychology of comparative wealth, you can escape the trap. My name is Alex, and this is Milestone Money. If you want to understand the psychological warfare that happens at every wealth threshold, hit subscribe. Because building wealth isn't about math. It's about managing your mind. And at $30,000, your mind becomes your biggest enemy. Here's what traditional finance tells you. Focus on your own journey. Don't compare yourself to others. Run your own race. Sounds great. Completely useless advice, because your brain doesn't work that way. Your brain is a comparison machine. It's designed to evaluate your status relative to your peer group. That's not a bug. That's evolution. For thousands of years, your status in the tribe determined whether you survived. So your brain is obsessed with figuring out where you rank. At $5,000, you ranked low. But so did everyone around you. So you felt normal. At $30,000, you rank higher than some people, but you also see people who rank way higher. And your brain fixates on the people above you, not the people below you. This is called upward social comparison. And it's the reason why lottery winners go broke, why celebrities have breakdowns, why people making $200,000 feel poor. Because no matter how much you have, there's always someone with more, and your brain treats that gap as failure. But here's what makes me angry. Social media, marketing, and the financial system are designed to amplify this comparison. They profit from making you feel inadequate at every level. At $5,000, you're too broke to be worth marketing to. At $30,000, you're the perfect target. You have money, but you feel poor compared to the images they show you. So you spend trying to close that gap? Let me show you the psychology nobody wants you to see. Take someone at $5,000 in savings. Let's call them version A of yourself. Version A scrolls social media. They see friends going out to dinner, taking weekend trips, buying new clothes. Version A thinks that looks nice, but I can't afford it. I'm saving. They feel a little jealous, but mostly they feel motivated. They're behind, they know it, and that knowledge fuels them to keep saving. Their peer group is mostly other broke people. They all complain about money together. It's bonding, it's community. Nobody's doing dramatically better, so version A feels normal. Now take the same person at $30,000. Version B of yourself, they scroll the same social media. But the algorithm has changed because they've been searching better apartments, looking at investment accounts, researching financial content. So now their feed shows them different content. A friend bought a $400,000 house. Another friend is traveling through Europe for a month. Someone from high school just started their own company. Their coworker just bought a Tesla. Every post is someone doing something they can't afford. Version B looks at their $30,000. At $5,000, this would have felt like a fortune. At $30,000, it feels pathetic. They can't buy a house, can't take a month off work, can't start a company, can't buy a Tesla. The $30,000 doesn't show them what they can do. It shows them what they can't do. This is the comparative wealth trap. Your absolute wealth increased, but your relative wealth feels like it decreased. A study from Princeton examined happiness levels at different income and savings tiers. What they found was counterintuitive. People with $5,000 to $10,000 saved reported average life satisfaction of 6.1 out of 10. People with $25,000 to $35,000 saved reported 5.8 out of 10. They had 3 to 5 times more money, but they were less happy. Why? Because their comparison group changed. At $10,000, they compared themselves to people with zero savings. They felt ahead. At $30,000, they compared themselves to people with $100,000, people buying houses, people investing heavily. They felt behind. The gap between where they were and where they wanted to be got bigger, not smaller, even though they had more money. Another study from Stanford tracked social media usage and financial satisfaction. They found that people with $25,000 to $50,000 spend 40% more time on social media than people with under $10,000. Why? Because at under $10,000, social media is depressing. Everyone has more than you. You avoid it. At $30,000, you feel successful enough to engage, but not successful enough to feel secure. So you scroll looking for validation, looking to see where you rank. And every scroll shows you someone doing better. Someone younger with more, someone with less education making more money, someone who started later but got further faster. It's psychological torture, and it's completely invisible. You don't realize it's happening. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Meet two versions of the same person, both 32 years old, same job, same city. Timeline A, 5 years ago, they have $4,800 in savings. They live in a small apartment with a roommate, $650 rent. They drive a 15-year-old car. They meal prep every week. They almost never go out. Their friend group is people from work, all in similar financial situations. On Friday night, they hang out at someone's apartment. Everyone brings cheap beer. They watch a movie. Total cost for the night, $8. They go home feeling good, normal, part of a community. Everyone is struggling together. Nobody's doing dramatically better. Timeline B, present day, same person. Now they have $31,000 in savings. They live alone in a one-bedroom, faux $400 rent. They drive a 7-year-old car, much better than before. They have a gym membership. They occasionally eat out. They're doing objectively better in every way. Friday night, they open Instagram. One friend is at a rooftop bar downtown, $18 cocktails. Another friend just posted from Tulum, week-long vacation. Their coworker bought a condo, posted the closing documents. Another friend just got engaged. The ring looks expensive. Designer brands everywhere. They sit alone in their apartment. Look around at their IKEA furniture. Their decent but not great TV, their small kitchen. They think about their $31,000. At $4,800, this felt unreachable. At $31,000, it feels insignificant. They can't afford rooftop bars regularly, can't take week-long vacations, can't buy a condo, can't afford an engagement ring like that. Same person, 7 times more money, feels worse about their financial situation. This is the comparative wealth trap in action. Here's what makes it even more insidious. At $5,000, you had clarity. You knew you were broke. You knew what you needed to do. Save aggressively. Build wealth. Simple. At $30,000, you have confusion. Are you doing well or poorly? You have more money than most Americans, but less than everyone you see online. You're not broke enough to have the broke community, but not rich enough to have the rich lifestyle. You're in financial no man's land. And that confusion kills momentum because you don't know if you should be proud or ashamed, celebrating or grinding harder, relaxing or panicking. A study from Yale examined this exact phenomenon. They called it middle-class anxiety. People in the middle of the wealth distribution experience the highest levels of financial stress. Not the poor, not the rich. The middle. Why? Because the poor know they're poor. It's clear. And they have community with other poor people. The rich know they're rich. It's clear. And they have community with other rich people. The middle doesn't know what they are. And they don't have clear community. They're too rich for their old friends. Too poor for their new aspirations. This creates constant comparison, constant evaluation. Am I doing okay? Should I have more by now? Is everyone else secretly doing better than me? Here's what the research shows about what happens to your life at this threshold. You're at $30,000 saved. You're 33 years old. You're objectively doing well. You make $65,000 a year. You have 0 debt. You have 6 months of expenses saved. By every traditional metric, you're winning. But you don't feel like you're winning. You feel like you're losing. Here's why. You go to work. Your desk neighbor mentions they just opened a brokerage account. Put $15,000 in index funds. You have $30,000 saved total. They have $15,000 invested. On top of whatever else they have saved. Suddenly you feel behind. You think I should be investing. Why am I not investing? Am I doing this wrong? You go home. Check your email. Your landlord raised rent by $150 per month. You can afford it. But it stings. You think, if I owned instead of renting, I wouldn't have this problem. But you can't afford to buy. Not in this city. Not with $30,000. You need at least $60,000 for a down payment. You're halfway there, but halfway feels like nowhere. You scroll Zillow. The cheapest decent place is $380,000. You'd need a $76,000 down payment for 20%. You're not even halfway. You open Instagram. A friend from college just posted, they bought a house, $425,000, beautiful, modern, big backyard. They're 32, 1 year younger than you. You think, how? How do they have that? Do they make more than me? Did their parents help? Are they in debt? Am I that far behind? You don't feel proud of your $30,000. You feel inadequate. Because every comparison shows you what you don't have, not what you do have. Weekend comes. You meet a friend for coffee. They're complaining about money. You think I have $30,000 saved? I'm doing fine. I shouldn't complain. But you don't feel fine. You feel stressed. But you can't admit it because compared to your broke friends, you should feel fine. So you smile. You nod. You say, yeah, money is tough. But inside you're thinking, I don't belong in this conversation anymore. I'm not broke, but I'm not successful either. What am I? This is the isolation of mid-tier wealth. You're too financially stable to relate to broke people, too broke to relate to wealthy people. You belong nowhere. Another angle. You're at a family dinner. Your aunt asks how you're doing. You say, good, saving money, being responsible. She says, that's wonderful. You should be so proud. You worked hard. Then your cousin walks in, just got promoted, $95,000 salary, company car, stock options. Your aunt goes on and on about how well they're doing. You sit there with your $30,000 and your $65,000 salary, objectively doing well, but feeling like the failure of the family. At $5,000, you were openly struggling. Everyone knew. There was no pretending, no comparison. At $30,000, you're in this weird middle zone where you can't claim to be struggling. But you don't feel successful, so you just sit there, smile, nod, and feel worse with every comparison. The system profits from making you feel this way. Here's what makes me genuinely angry about this. The entire economy is designed to exploit comparative wealth anxiety. Luxury brands exist specifically to create comparison pain. They show you a lifestyle, then price it just out of reach, so you feel inadequate. At $5,000, you don't see these ads. You're not the target. At $30,000, you see them everywhere because you can almost afford them. Almost. A $3,000 handbag? You could buy it. It would wreck your savings. But you could, so you're aware of it. And every time you see someone with that handbag, you feel poor. Real estate does this too. When you have $30,000, you start looking at houses. The algorithm knows, so it shows you listings. $450,000 homes, $500,000 homes, slightly out of reach, but close enough that you feel like you should be able to afford them. And when you can't, you feel like you failed. Credit card companies do this brilliantly. When you hit $30,000 in savings, your credit limit offers jump. $25,000 limits, premium cards, travel rewards. They're telling you you're in a higher tier now. You deserve luxury. But they're not giving you luxury. They're giving you debt that looks like luxury. So you spend trying to match the lifestyle your credit limit suggests you should have, but your actual wealth can't support it. Social media is the worst offender. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, they all use the same algorithm. Show you people slightly above your level, just successful enough to make you feel inadequate, just relatable enough that you think you should be there too. At $5,000, your feed is chaos, random content. You're too broke to be worth targeting. At $30,000, your feed becomes a highlight reel of everyone doing better than you. New cars, nice apartments, vacations, restaurants, investments, business launches. Every post designed to make you feel behind, and it works. A leaked document from a major social media platform showed their engagement strategy. Users with $25,000 to $50,000 in liquid assets are shown 60% more aspirational lifestyle content than users with under $10,000. Why? Because this group engages more. They comment, they save posts, they click on ads. They're trying to figure out how to get there. And that engagement is profitable. The platform doesn't want you to feel content at $30,000. They want you to feel inadequate. So you keep scrolling, keep engaging, keep clicking ads. Your comparative anxiety is their business model. So how do you escape a trap designed to make you feel poor no matter how much you have? Most advice says stop comparing yourself to others. Delete social media, focus on gratitude. That's not enough. You can't just stop comparing. Your brain won't let you. You need to control what you compare to. Here's the 3-phase psychological defense. Phase 1, reframe the baseline. Week 1 after recognizing the trap. The moment you realize you're in the comparative wealth trap, you need to reset your baseline. Stop comparing yourself to people above you. Start comparing yourself to your past self. 2 comparison resets. Reset 1, monthly time travel. On the first of every month, look at where you were exactly 1 year ago. Your savings, your income, your situation. Write down the improvement. At $30,000 today versus $18,000 last year, You improved by $12,000. That's $1,000 per month. You're winning. This comparison is real. The other comparisons are imagined. You don't know how much your Instagram friend actually has. You do know how much you had last year. Reset 2. Bottom-up comparison. For every one person you compare up to, force yourself to compare down to 3 people. This sounds harsh. It's not. It's perspective. Think about 3 people genuinely struggling right now. People who would see your $30,000 as life-changing. People who wish they had your problems. This isn't about feeling superior. It's about seeing reality. You're not poor, you're in progress. And progress feels like poverty when you only look up. Phase 2, curate the input. Months 1 through 3. You can't control what your brain compares, but you can control what information your brain receives. 3 content filters. Filter 1, unfollow anyone whose lifestyle makes you feel inadequate. Literally anyone. Friend, family, influencer, gone. This sounds extreme. It's survival. Your mental health is more valuable than seeing their vacation photos. If their content makes you feel poor when you're not, remove it. Filter 2, follow people on the same journey. People building wealth from similar starting points. People documenting the process, not the result. You need to see the struggle, the sacrifice, the years of work, not just the highlight reel of success. This rewires your expectations from overnight success to realistic progress. Filter 3, set screen time limits on comparison apps, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, 20 minutes per day maximum, not 0. You're not a monk, but not unlimited. That's psychological poison. Phase 3, build comparison immunity. Months 3 through 12. This is the permanent fix. You need to stop deriving your self-worth from comparison entirely. 3 immunity builders. Builder 1, define personal benchmarks, not relative benchmarks. Don't say I want to have as much as my friend. Say I want to hit $50,000 by age 35. This removes comparison from the equation. You either hit your benchmark or you don't. Someone else's success doesn't change your target. Builder 2, track invisible progress. Money is one metric. Track the others. Quality of sleep, stress levels, free time, health, relationships. At $5,000, you were broke, but you might have been stressed, unhealthy, and exhausted. At $30,000, you might have money and peace. That's massive progress. But you can't see it if you only compare net worth. Builder 3, celebrate milestones privately. Stop announcing financial wins. Stop posting about savings. Stop telling people what you have. The moment you announce it, you invite comparison. And comparison kills satisfaction. Your $30,000 is incredible. Until someone says they have $60,000, then it feels like nothing. Keep your wins private. Celebrate with yourself. Journal them, track them, but don't broadcast them. This protects your satisfaction from external comparison. By month 12, the comparison trap loses power. You're still aware of other people's success, but it doesn't define your self-worth anymore. You know where you are. You know where you were. You know where you're going. And that's enough. This isn't easy. The comparative wealth trap is designed to be invisible. You don't realize you're comparing until you've already felt inadequate. But here's what I need you to understand. You won't remember the Instagram posts you didn't see, but you will remember hitting $50,000 and realizing you stayed focused while everyone else stayed distracted. You won't remember unfollowing people who made you feel poor, but you will remember the peace you felt when your feed stopped being a comparison minefield. You're no longer someone whose self-worth is determined by how you rank against others. You're now someone who measures success by personal progress. You're no longer someone vulnerable to comparative anxiety. You're now someone who controls what information enters your mind and how you process it. You're no longer in the trap. You're immune to it. If this video explained why having more money made you feel worse, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because I'm breaking down every psychological trap at every wealth milestone. Send this to one person who's doing well financially but doesn't feel like it. They need to know it's not their bank account. It's their comparison mechanism. Drop a comment with your savings amount and whether you feel rich or poor at that number. The responses will show you how relative everything is. Next video, I'm going to calculate your financial age. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.